So I just got through playing through the Aftermath DLC of Mortal Kombat 11, and it's about on par with the rest of the game. Nowhere near as good as 9 by any stretch of the imagination. Nowhere near as good as mine, but still a great deal better than 10. Essentially, if you liked 11, you'll get more of it, and it's worth playing, but it's slightly it's DLC. You know what you're getting. It feels kind of lazy. You're essentially getting a lot of the similar plot elements, a lot of things that don't really make sense, but on the other hand, you get Mortal Kombat and you get great character moments with some of the DLC characters. It's just I am very, very divided on the story because on one hand, its good moments aren't nearly on par with the main games. You don't have the crazy shit. You don't have that epic ending. You don't have like some of the stuff that made 11 kind of the original story mode kind of work. But what you do have is a really, really interesting setup where essentially Shang Tsung, Nightwolf, and Fusion go back in time to retrieve Kronika's crown because apparently Liu Kang needs it to remake the universe in his image. And I think this is clearly supposed to be non-canon because I think it contradicts what happens at the end of 11 where like Liu Kang is immediately able to bring Katana back and immediately able to do stuff and immediately goes off to the next game. I'm kind of confused about the setup here. On one hand, you're retreating old ground. You're basically sending these new characters back in time to fuck with the timeline, and that's kind of boring. We've seen that before. In the same series, in the same timeline, no less. This sort of happened in 9 already, you know what I mean? Like, going back in time, like, the entire game involved time travel to begin with, and now we have more time travel shit, like, come on. But it is kind of frustrating in that regard, where it does feel kind of rehashy, where you, honestly, I was kind of worried about how rehashy it would be going into it, since it starts off right at the katana marching on Shao Kahn, which is, one of my favorite moments of the original campaign. So, Mortal Kombat 11 starts off with that, essentially, and then it sort of escalates in there in very surprising ways. It's surprisingly morbid and, again, has lots of great moments. Very, very, very inspired moments, in particular with Sindel, who I think is a standout, and Shang Tsung, who, for the first time in series history, actually lives up to his chess master reputation that's been built up over 11 games. He actually successfully manages to manipulate everyone in a really, really compelling way. Like, throughout the entire thing, except maybe for the end, like, he is an absolute highlight. Like, you know it's coming, you know what he's doing, even the characters know what he's doing, but they set it up so well and execute it so perfectly, you cannot help but appreciate it. Shang Tsung is essentially the main character of the DLC, to be honest with you. Like, the entire thing is his plan, his setup, his execution. Like, it's all because of him. Like, the entire story is about him, essentially, and it's extremely compelling. And the way he sets everything up, where he like uses Sindel to get Shao Kahn so they can like team up, betray Katana, go on their crusade. It's just really, really compelling. And again, the campaign still has it still has a lot of it. It still suffers from a lot of the problems that the original campaign had. Jax's motivations. Jackie is still boring. Cassie is still boring, but you still have lots of highlights from the more interesting characters. The aforementioned Sindel, who I think is probably the highlight other than Shang Tsung. Sindel is great in this. Like, holy fucking shit. She does such a great job of just it does such a great job of like setting up like we have to get her back, we have to use her to do this specific thing. She comes back, reconciles with Katana, and then goes back to Shao Kahn like a complete thought, and it is glorious. It is great, really, really compelling. It really made me a fan of the character, to be honest with you. Like I've never cared for Sindel. You know, Mortal Kombat 9 didn't really do her justice. This one made her an extremely compelling villain. Like she wasn't even the main antagonist, but just like just the things she would do. Just the things she would do, like her involvement in the plan, her actions, like that legit, like probably one of the best video game shots I've ever seen in my life, where she's having this conversation with Katana, where they're talking about their feelings and stuff like that, and Katana hugs her, and you can tell she's really emotional and really happy to be with her mother again, and then the camera just turns around, and you see Sindel's face, and she's just like, it's glorious. It is straight up wonderful. It is the greatest thing ever. Like I said, there are plenty of great moments here, but it is held back, I think, a lot, by the length. It's a DLC, probably the lack of budget, the writing, I think. There are times when it's interesting. I think the writers are really, really good when they're doing specific character-to-character stuff, but when it comes to, like, the overall events, they kind of drop the ball a lot. Like, there's this segment where, like, Fujin's just like, I have to stay here, so Shang Tsung and Nightwolf can go on their way, go off by themselves for a while, and then, like, in the next scene, he's back again for no explained reason. Like, things like that, you know what I mean? It's, they do things like set up like, oh, we can't meet with other people in this timeline, and then they meet with other people in this timeline. It's not nearly as good as it would have been. Like I think I personally could have done better. It's and I do think a big part of it, like more than anything, I think I said this about the main game too, is that like the formula is just getting stale. Like again, we have the formula. We have like we've seen enough of these games to like know where the plot's gonna go every single time. They're going to ignore all the lore in this one in order to hype up the next one when Mortal Kombat 12 comes out. I am just so frustrated with some of the aspects of this, like the over focus on Cassie. Like I don't know why she was such a big focus in 10 and 11. Like 10 was okay, she was a new character in 10. She shouldn't have been the main character. I always said that. Like she probably should have just been a side character in this. Like yeah, the entire game sets up like this whole Sonya and Sonya dying and Cassie being sad about it when it doesn't really matter all that much to the overall plot. You know what I mean? Like it's just a cheap death. You know what I mean? That doesn't even hold any weight to it because young Sonya is like immediately back. It's just it just doesn't do it for me. It just I'm just sick of Cassie, sick of Devora. Melina's thankfully been sidelined this time. A lot of people are upset that she's gone, but like, yeah, she had too much of a focus in 10, I think. Now's a great time for her to step back. Devora is not in the DLC. I just realized, wow, Devora, in the entire thing, you don't fight Devora at all. It's kind of surprising, considering how the developers seem to love her. I guess they are getting sick of her too. After all the shit she pulled in the main game, killing Scorpion, just unbelievable. Yeah. All right, so my final thoughts on it. It's adequate. Like it's okay. I didn't hate it. I didn't regret purchasing it or anything. But like it wasn't great. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't 9 again. You know what I mean? Like after the DLC, like I legit don't think they'll be able to recapture 9's magic again. Like 9 had like such great, was like perfect in every way. You know what I mean? Like it was exactly what I wanted in a Mortal Kombat game, and in every way. Like, it had the content, it had the replayability, it had the gameplay, the characters, all of them. Basically, all of them are really fun to play in 9. The story is the best in fighting game history, I would say. Honestly, I'm still angry that we never got a proper follow-up because it did such a good job setting up Mortal Kombat 10, and then they never followed through on it. It just so frustrating. Again, this is one of the reasons I'm so frustrated with these games' story, because now I'm interested in the continuity of this reboot series, and it's just feeling samey at this point. That's my big thing, is that, like, I think they need to do a major overhaul for Mortal Kombat 12. Like, I'm thinking they need to try 3D again. I'm thinking they're going to need to do something completely different for the next one, because I just... Oof. At this point in time, I think I'm burned out on Mortal Kombat 11. ARMS did outlast this. I can confirm ARMS is better than Mortal Kombat 11. I'm still playing ARMS. Mortal Kombat 11, like, I liked it a lot. Like, I'm definitely not one of those people who shit all over it. But it's been out for a year. I've been playing it pretty consistently since that time. One of my favorite games of last year. I enjoyed it a lot for what it was. Again, like, there are better games in the series. And the DLC didn't really add a whole lot of life to it for me. Like, the DLC isn't all... The story campaign isn't all that long. I feel like, they possibly could have done a lot more with this. I'm not really sure. Again, I think that's the major thing here, is that they're really going to have to reinvent the wheel for the next one. Like, they can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. Like, this should be it. This should be the end of the reboot trilogy, right? The reboot trilogy. And they should be doing something completely different for 12. That's my hope. That's my optimism. That's what I want to see going forward. I want to see something completely different next time in Liu Kang's new timeline.